Hey, it's Ben from Strength Factory and welcome to the next episode of Understanding the Numbers. My short video series is going to help you get the most out of training by understanding numbers, data and some of the jargon. This episode is going to be about RPE, Rate of Perceived Exertion. RPE stands for Rate of Perceived Exertion, and it's all about how hard you feel a certain exercise or part of your training is. Okay, now there's different ways of doing it, but as always with me, simple is good, and so I use a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is really super easy. It's basically where I'm at now, level 1, and level 10 is absolute max effort, and you probably are really questioning your life choices and you want to die. Okay, that is the scale. Now, RPE has many benefits. The first one is that you don't need any kit. It's cheap, it's free. Okay, no heart rate, power meters, no data, no more things to update, and in my eyes that is a good thing. The other good thing about it is that when you get good at using it is that you can then apply it to all different parts of your training, and it can be quite effective and quite consistent. The drawbacks are that for beginners is that it can be quite erratic because you haven't done that much training, you don't have that broad sort of base of different inputs, of different training sessions, of different intensities and durations to really effectively use it. So it takes practice, and this is one of the things that separates elite athletes from the rest of us, is that they're good at training, and so they're very in tune with how hard they're working and how long they can then work for at given intensities. Now, let's take a minute then to look at the scale from 1 to 10 of RPE. You can see here then I've got a simple chart showing RPE down the middle against heart rate zones for cardiovascular training, so on your bike or running or whatever you're doing. Now, it's really simple, where each zone equates to an RPE, where 1 and 2 are heart rate zone 1, all the way up to RPE 9, 10 being heart rate zone 5, and that is your absolute max effort work there. So RPE 10, you can probably only do that for 20 to 30 seconds, and you better have the sick bucket ready. Now, we don't always want to train with heart rate, and part of the beauty of RPE is that you need no kit. So how do we determine what RPE we're at? There are certain indicators that give us clues to where we're at. So for instance, at RPE 3 or 4, we're riding aerobically, you should be able to talk normally with your riding buddies. So you can do full sentences, no worries. As we get a bit faster to RPE 5, 6, doing tempo work, the heart rate is raised, the breathing is increased, and maybe you have to break up sentences to be able to talk. Threshold work at RPE 7, 8 is getting more intense, and that makes speaking very difficult, and you're grabbing a few words at a time, and really you're not doing much talking at all. Finally, at that top end stuff, you're just not talking, you're just basically grunting in between efforts, and life is pretty unpleasant. As you saw there then, on that chart with my explanation, that is RPE referring to like cardiovascular training. So you're going for a run, a bike ride or a ski and so on. But you can also use RPE effectively in the gym as a way of controlling and monitoring how much load or weight you're lifting. So for instance, a higher RPE would be working at high intensity, maybe on a deadlift, and the RPE determines how close you go to failure basically. And in this next chart that I'm going to show you now and explain, that's going to take you through how we can then apply RPE in the gym to really effectively control how much weight you lift and for how many reps you lift it. To explain RPE in terms of strength training in the gym and lifting weights, it's actually useful to use another little bit of jargon, but it's very simple, called reps in reserve. And this is basically how many reps you could still do at the end of a set. So for instance, if I were to pull a 3 rep max deadlift, then that would be 0 reps in reserve because it's a max lift, and that would mean that I was lifting with an RPE of 10, i.e. maximal effort. I would not be able to do another single rep. Now, further down, we've got lower RPEs, which are obviously more reps in reserve. So typically, like strength training in the gym, if I'm doing a deadlift, I'm going to be working somewhere around RPE 6 or 7 most of the time. And at RPE 6, that would mean I'd put down the last deadlift thinking I could probably do 4 of those, you know. And so if your program says deadlift RPE for 5 reps, with an RPE of 6 or 7, that would mean you'd select a weight, and once you lifted it for 5 reps, you'd think, yeah, I could probably do that 3 or 4 more times. And so that way RPE can effectively control how much weight you lift, making your training effective and keeping it safe. You can see then that RPE is really versatile in that you can use it across all parts of your training. And you know, it's also then simple to take that information, and then it kind of tells you how to recover and how to, you know, work the next day, for instance. Because if you're working at a really high RPE, doing a minging interval session, then that means that you need to put in more effort into your recovery. Higher RPE means more demanding, means more recovery needed. A relatively straightforward session with a lower RPE is going to need less effort and less conscious, you know, things to recover from that session. Similarly, you know, when you're designing a training program, you know, if you think about the sessions in terms of RPE, you don't want a series of really intense high RPE sessions back to back, day after day, because all that's going to happen is you're going to build up fatigue and not necessarily build fitness. So there you go, RPE. Actually really simple, and with practice can be very effective for all different levels of athlete. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments below. You know what to do, and I'd love it if you hit subscribe and share this with a training buddy. I'll be back soon with more understanding the numbers.